This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. 3 Winnipeg police officers have been arrested and charged criminally after what's being described as a lengthy internal investigation. Investigators say they found evidence of theft and obstructing justice. It's an incident the deputy chief says is deeply concerning. CBC's Caitlin Gowerluck tells us more about what happened.
Police say the investigation started earlier this year, and it really all centered around one officer. Constable Elston Bostock has been with Winnipeg Police for 21 years. He's now charged with offences including breach of trust, obstructing justice, and theft under $5,000. Police allege Bostock also disclosed confidential information. Here's Deputy Chief Gene Bowers.
Well, I think the message is that we believe in transparency and accountability, and when these things occur, we will hold people accountable within the police service, that no one's above the law.
So, Caitlin, what do we know about the other 2 officers who were charged?
Police say the incidents they're charged in happened while they were partnered with Bostock. That includes Constable Jonathan Kyzik, an 18-year member of the force. Kyzik is accused of unlawfully entering a residence on Stradbrook Avenue with Bostock in October of 2022. The location was being held as a police scene during an investigation. Another incident last month allegedly involved Constable Matthew Kadniak, who's been an officer for 2 years. Investigators say Kadniak and Bostock stole money while on duty.
So what else can you tell us about this investigation?
Well, there's still a lot we don't know. Police wouldn't say how they found out about the alleged crimes or whether any other officers are involved, saying the matter is part of an ongoing investigation and is now before the courts. Deputy Chief Bowers did leave the door open, though, when asked if the investigation could lead to changes.
Once we finalize it, we do a review and look for any gaps that we could. Potential gaps that there is in the systems, and then make adjustments.
Police say the officers charged have, for now, been put on paid leave. Brittany.
All right, that's CBC's Caitlin Gowerluck. The cost of fighting fires is going up, and the Winnipeg Fire Paramedic Service is going into the red, trying to meet demand. A city report projects the WFPS could be millions of dollars over budget this year. And as CBC's Mike Arsenault explains, a big part of the issue is overtime and workers' compensation.
Firefighters and paramedics work around the clock to keep Winnipeggers safe, but the number of calls is increasing. President of United Firefighters of Winnipeg, Tom Billis, says the staffing levels for Winnipeg Fire Paramedic Service aren't working.
When we did about 1/10 of the calls we do today, 1/10 of the fires, 1/10 of the medical calls, and it just has not kept up with the times. It needs to be adjusted. We need more staff.
A new city report shows the WFPS is projected to be nearly $13 million over budget in 2024. More than $7 million of the deficit is due to overtime, and another $5.5 million is the result of workers' comp, injury claims, and emergency social services. Billis says the lack of staff is leading to massive amounts of overtime, which in turn leads to burnout.
It creates this vicious cycle. We cannot overtime ourselves out of the problem.
City Councillor Vivian Santos is chair of the Community on Community Services. She says the province gave the city several $1 million to hire 40 new firefighters, which will help to alleviate the pressure on WFPS.
They have graduated this year, and they're over at the Waverly West station. So we're seeing those. We should be seeing those numbers, transpire in the new budget in 2025.
Mayor Scott Gillingham says he's talking with the province about changing the funding model to accommodate the city's needs.
The city of Winnipeg needs more revenue. Our city's growing. The calls for service are going up. We need more revenue to provide city services to a growing city.
Gillingham says Emergency Services is working on an alternative response to 911 to take some of the pressure off of first responders and better meet the needs of the people.
When the staffing ratio was created, it was to cover up for holidays, the occasional injury and so on. But nowadays we have maternity leave, paternity leave. We have a lot more injuries.
Billis believes adjusting the staffing ratio will resolve the overtime and burnout issues. Mike Arsenault, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Americans may have been glued to their televisions watching the election results in the United States come in on Tuesday night, but so were many people in Canada, including the Ukrainian community here in Winnipeg. As the CBC's Rosanna Hempel reports, Donald Trump's re-election to the White House is stoking both fear and hope for the future of Ukraine.
Katerina Starakova's day did not start as she'd hoped.
First, my reaction, it was, America, I'm so upset of you.
Leading up to the election, this Ukrainian newcomer heard Donald Trump's criticism of American support for her home country and his vows to quickly end the war, along with his so-called good relationship with Russian President Vladimir Putin. They've left Starakova fearing Trump's presidency will come at Ukraine's expense.
I'm very, very, very concerned. I'm very afraid about Ukraine and about my relatives here. I think we will lost our country, unfortunately.
But some, including Ukrainian newcomer Serhiy Petrenko, are more hopeful.
Today we need a concretely help, concretely support. No blah blah, no speaking about support.
Petrenko is concerned about his son, who's fighting on the front lines in Ukraine. He's hopeful Trump will send them even more support and weapons. As for the president-elect's relationship with Putin,
all political men plays the game, yes, and I don't hope that Trump sympathetic to Putin, to Russia. No, I think it's political games.
The Ukrainian-Canadian Congress in Manitoba, meanwhile, says it's monitoring the overall situation with apprehension. Ostap Skripnik is an advisor with the organization.
There's so many unknowns, and it's such a moving target that it's difficult to say. So there's apprehension, a bit of anxiety. I'm sure in some quarters there's active concern, because I mean at some point you have to take the man for his word for what he says.
As for Starakova, she's awaiting news from her own brother fighting in Ukraine and his family.
He told my mother and his family the next day after Trump's win, you should package it and move out from country. Don't stay in Ukraine. It's very dangerous.
She's holding out hope. American and Canadian support for Ukraine continues. Rosanna Hempel, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A judge is urging the government to look at opening a safe sobering center in northern Manitoba after an intoxicated man died while in police custody. The recommendation is part of a newly released inquest report that says the 2019 death was preventable. CBC's Kristen Annable has more.
John Edaway Capo's last moments were inside a jail cell in an RCMP detachment in the Pas. He was placed there after being arrested for public intoxication on October 5th, 2019. An hour later, another intoxicated man inadvertently placed his leg on Edaway Capo's neck, and it stayed there for 40 minutes. The chief medical examiner said it likely caused his death. A 5-day inquest was held in June, where a provincial court judge heard testimony from the officers who arrested him and the guards who were supposed to monitor him.
The report from the inquest was released Thursday. Provincial Court Judge Brian Coley wrote in the 50-page report that important checks were missed by the guards that led to his death. The inquest found the guards did no physical checks on Edaway Capo after the leg was placed on his neck, which is against the RCMP's policy to check on detainees every 15 minutes.
Mr. Edaway Capo died in police care from a preventable cause. He needed help, but he did not receive it, Judge Brian Coley wrote in the inquest report. Judge Coley made 2 recommendations: that the province look at creating a shelter to house intoxicated people so they don't have to go to a jail cell, and that intoxicated people are medically assessed by a nurse or paramedic before they are detained by police. Kristen Annable, CBC News, Winnipeg.
CBC weather specialist Riley Laychuk in now. And Riley, it's always that time of year where you're trying to figure out, is it too soon to pull out a heavier jacket? Because you don't want to pull it out too early, because then what are you going to do when it's, minus 15, minus 20? But I did need gloves today, and I forgot them this morning.
Yeah, didn't need them this afternoon,
No.
though. Boy, oh boy, what a banner day we had across southern Manitoba. Look at some of these highs from today. 14 through the Parkland region, 12 in Winnipeg. We really smashed through that forecast high from this afternoon. By the way, record high for this day was almost 17 degrees. So a few degrees off that yet, but still a nice day across southern Manitoba. That's because we've got a ridge of high pressure that is built over the prairie provinces. That's really clearing us out. Did bring in some very warm southerly air today. Low pressure over the Hudson Bay coast. This brought some snow to northern Manitoba through the day today. So tonight we're looking at a clear sky down to -2 overnight. Winds lighten up as we get through the evening tonight and stay light in the morning. Another chilly one. Southwest winds gusting to 10, -1 first thing in the morning, and warming up way above seasonal for this time of the year, Brittany, as we get into the afternoon. Looking at a high of 8 tomorrow afternoon. I think that's more realistic for your Friday afternoon. We'll talk about that, and I'll have more on the West Final forecast later in the show.
All right. Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
We have more local news coming up straight ahead. Stay with us. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News. It could soon become harder for Manitobans to buy machetes and easier for workers to unionize. Those are just two of the laws expected to pass tonight as this legislative session wraps up. For more, we're joined by CBC's Ian Fraze in the newsroom. So Ian, what are some of the highlights?
One of the big ones, Brittany, will restrict the sale of machetes. These tools have been used in some violent attacks in recent months, and now the province is trying to clamp down. Those under the age of 18 will be unable to buy machetes, while those over the age of 18 will have to produce an ID. Some of the other laws slated to pass tonight include a ban on using replacement workers during labor disputes, creating a seniors advocate who'd be charged with investigating issues. The rebate political parties get on their election expenses will rise from 25% to 50%. And now the province won't need a law to change how much you pay for a gas tax. Rates will be set by government. Now, the Tories have been complaining for months that a lot of these new laws were crammed into an unrelated bill about the budget. That meant the public didn't get a say. No public hearings were held. The PCs say they're open to rule changes that would prevent omnibus bills like this one, called BITSA, from being used in this way.
There are 5 schedules at the back of BITSA that are going to be passed that never saw the light of day for Manitobans to come and participate in process, in the democratic process here in Manitoba, to come to committee and voice their opinions, either pro or against the various different legislations. And so that's unfortunate.
But NDP House Leader Nahanni Fontaine says it's the PC's fault for preventing some of these government bills from being introduced in the first place.
My recommendation to the PCs is that they really should be doing their job and allowing legislation to go forward and allowing the government to pursue their legislative agenda. And that's what we did.
After tonight, the legislature will rise for a short break. The MLAs will be back in the chamber on November 19th. Brittany.
Right, that's CBC's Ian Fraze in the newsroom. Thank you, Ian. Brandon police are asking people to check over donated food items after they say drugs were found inside a box of chocolates received in a hamper. The CBC's Alana Cole explains.
Brandon police are investigating after they say drugs were found in a donated food item. Police say 1 gram of cannabis and 1 gram of methamphetamine were inside a box of toffee chocolate and that the chocolates had been donated to Samaritan House.
1 gram of methamphetamine as well as 1 gram of cannabis was found within the box. The plastic wrap around the chocolate was not tampered with. It was just within the box.
Samaritan House says they got a call from one of their clients who had found the drugs inside one of the items picked up as part of their monthly hamper.
We also want to really thank the client that came forward with it, and we really appreciate them for being honest and moving forward with it in the right way, and making sure that the drugs were handled in a safe manner, because the last thing we want is anyone to get hurt.
Samaritan House says donations are inspected, but they're reviewing procedures to make sure something like this doesn't happen again. And that police are going to be bringing in one of their drug sniffing dogs to check everything else. Police say Major Crimes is investigating and it's not sure who donated the item or what day it was donated. Police also want to remind people to check donations and contact them if drugs are found. Alana Cole, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A 34-year-old woman has died after being hit by a car in North Kildonan last night. It happened on Chief Peguis Trail near Gateway Road just after 7:30. The woman was rushed to hospital in critical condition but didn't survive. The 26-year-old driver of the car involved remained at the scene and spoke with officers. Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew is honoring Maurice Sinclair. The Anishinaabe judge, senator, and chair of Canada's Truth and Reconciliation Commission died earlier this week at the age of 73. Kinew grew up with Sinclair's children, and the two share a special connection. The 73-year-old spoke at the Premier's swearing-in ceremony. He's now remembering him as a pioneer and for advancing reconciliation in Canada. Canoe says the late senator inspired people and provided hope to many. He says the best way to honor him is to continue on the path he helped set out.
I just want to, reflect on that and say that, of course, that hope still continues. That hope is still here with us. And I think one of the really important ways for us to honor his legacy is by keeping that project going, keeping the work of the calls to action and Every Child Matters and Orange Shirt Day and working with business and, church and community and Indigenous, non-Indigenous to just build up this country that we love so much.
A book of condolences is available for people to sign at the Legislative Building through Sunday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. A memorial for Sinclair is being held on Sunday at Canada Life Centre. That starts at 2 p.m. Riley's back in now. And Riley, big weekend. Not only do we have Remembrance Day on Monday that a lot of people are going to be out at ceremonies for and want some nice weather for, but we have the Western Final for the Bombers as well. So we need good weather.
We are looking at good weather, albeit the game starts at 5:30. So we are looking at, as the sun goes down, that we'll be in the dark by then. Cooler temperatures into the evening. So yes, we're looking at a warm day Saturday, but you'll want to bundle up a bit if you're heading to the game. No snow though.
Bonus.
Let's take a look at the big picture right now. So I was talking about that ridge in the jet stream that has started to build, and you can start to see that kind of defined if we look at the upper level winds right now. So high pressure to the south of us, and you'll notice the past few nights we've had that really deep trough in the jet stream that allowed some of that cooler air in. Well, look, high pressure has been dominating our pattern today, and that's allowed some of that really warm southerly air to really flow into southern Manitoba. Here's that area of low pressure over Hudson Bay. This brought a couple centimeters of snow across parts of northern Manitoba today. A little bit more yet to come as we look at futurecast here. So the cloud that's kind of trailing behind that continues to push out through the evening hours. But behind that, another area of low pressure begins to move into northern Manitoba. For the south, into northwestern Ontario, a sunny start to Friday, but yeah, you can see the beginnings of that area of low pressure starting to make its way across into northern Manitoba as we get into the afternoon hours. Thinking places like Thompson, a chance we could see some flurries. Most of this centered into far northern Manitoba. And as you'll see along the Hudson Bay coast as we get later into Friday, places like Shamattawa into Gillam getting a couple centimeters more snow as we get through into early Saturday morning. That ridge continues to build as we get through Friday into Saturday. That warms our temperatures up. A little bit of a breeze through the weekend. A little bit of cloud starts to build in on Saturday, though, into the evening hours. This ahead, as I'll show you here, as part of another area of low pressure that's skirting across south of the border. This mainly impacting parts of the Dakotas into Minnesota, but a slim chance, especially through Sunday, that we could see a couple of showers into northwestern Ontario, maybe into extreme southeastern Manitoba. So in terms of snowfall accumulations over the next couple of days for northern Manitoba, really looking at a trace to a couple centimeters, maybe 3 to 5 along that Hudson Bay coast as we see that system moving through into the next couple of days here. Overnight temperatures quickly looking like this into the early morning, I should say -4 first thing in the morning for Brandon. Thompson looking at a -6 first thing. Overnight -2 in Winnipeg, up to 12 for game time on Saturday, looking closer to 6 degrees, Brittany, and temperatures sliding as we get into next week.
All right. Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
And here are some beautiful shots of our city last night taken by our CBC drone team. More straight ahead after the break. Stay with us. Donald Trump will be sworn in as U.S. president in just over 2 months. The transition period after the 2020 election was a tumultuous one, with Trump attempting to overturn the results. But today, outgoing President Joe Biden told Americans that Tuesday's vote was honest, fair, and transparent, and he promised a peaceful transition of power.
The people vote and choose their own leaders, and they do it peacefully. And we're in a democracy. The will of the people always prevails. Yesterday, I spoke with President-elect Trump to congratulate him on his victory. And I assured him that I'd direct my entire administration to work with his team to ensure a peaceful and orderly transition.
The White House had previously said Biden would attend his successor's inauguration on January 20th. Trump refused to attend Biden's in 2021. Trump's election victory has cast an even brighter spotlight on the issue of Mexican border migrant crossings. The CBC's Caroline Bargut went to find out more about the controversy in Arizona.
Immigration is a major concern for Americans, especially here in this border state.
This is the wall that separates the United States from Mexico. It's supposed to keep illegal migrants out. We wanted to see it firsthand. All of a sudden, within seconds, a man has climbed over the wall and is gone.
Tell me why you come to America. I'm a Canadian. I want to understand.
Not back to you. Donald Trump said he will deport millions of illegal migrants if he gets into office. Americans responded and elected him president.
You're not going to let a random stranger into your home without knowing who they are.
If it's against the law, it's against the law. I don't make the laws. You want to change the laws and change the laws, right? But you can't say illegal and then say, oh, okay.
Some see illegal migration as a symptom of a broken immigration system.
If you're an immigrant coming from Canada, let's say, or you're an immigrant coming from Europe, the process for that is a lot different than if you're coming from Latin America, if you are coming from Mexico.
Immigration was on the ballot in Arizona. People here voted in favor of making it a state crime as well to enter anywhere other than through the port of entry.
It's going to hurt us. Who's going to fund it?
Jorge Maldonado is the mayor of Nogales, a city on the border with Mexico. He fears the new law would unfairly scoop up migrants claiming asylum who are here waiting for a court date. Earlier this year, this region of Arizona was the busiest in the country for illegal migrant apprehensions. 80,000 people had been taken into custody. Some think it's worth the risk for the chance for a better life.
How do you feel about Donald Trump becoming president?
I don't care.
Are you worried?
Then another man climbs over and runs to safety. Caroline Bargut, CBC News, Nogales, Arizona.
The issue of what policy a Trump presidency might pursue on immigration is already raising concerns in Quebec about what the impact might be on immigration there. The CBC's Sarah Levitt has that story.
An emphatic message from Quebec's premier. The province has too many immigrants. Warning of a possible influx of asylum seekers to Quebec, like after Donald Trump's first win.
What I want to do is make sure that Mr. Trudeau, the federal government, take this seriously.
Between 2016 and Trump's first year in office, the number of people seeking asylum in Canada doubled from nearly 24,000 to 50,000. Many came illegally through Roxham Road on the border between New York and Quebec, thanks to a loophole in the Safe Third Country Agreement between Canada and the United States. That loophole was removed and the unofficial crossing shut down last year. Since Roxham Road closed, the RCMP says more people have been smuggled into the U.S. than into Canada. But it has been preparing for a Trump win and the possibility of increased illegal crossings in this area for months.
More officers on the ground.
Sergeant Charles Poirier says there's a plan in place. The Quebec-New York border spans 110 kilometers and consists mostly of agricultural land and forests.
It's less appealing for people coming into Canada to do it illegally, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to try it.
Montreal's Welcome Collective formed to help refugee claimants who arrived after Trump's first win, many fleeing to avoid deportation. This advocate says the journey can be dangerous, even deadly, but some people are desperate enough to try.
We fear that
number will increase and pose a real danger to human lives, and we could end up with a serious humanitarian disaster on our hands.
Following Trump's last inauguration, the federal government said it welcomed refugees. But this time around, talk has focused on ensuring the security of Canada's border. Sarah Levitt, CBC News, Montreal.
Chiefs of police across the Greater Toronto Area say it's been a brutal year for gun violence. They say 2024 has broken records for incidents involving firearms in multiple jurisdictions. As Nicole Williams reports, it's a reflection of the steady rise in shootings in Canada over the last decade.
Melanie Ward remembers with haunting clarity the moment she learned her son was dead.
And I just dropped to my knees and screamed. It's something that will always be envisioned in my head. It was shock, it was denial, it was, how is this possible?
Alexander Kirchamaro was on his way to an appointment in Hamilton, Ontario back in March when the 19-year-old was shot and killed in broad daylight.
I lost my son. I lost the teenager. I lost the 19 years of his life, and now I lose his future.
Her family, one of many grappling with a rise in gun violence this year. Hamilton setting a new record for shootings, 58 so far, compared to 35 all of last year.
That is no secret. These are scary numbers. And what we're starting to see is a trending of daytime shootings. And not just daytime shootings, but shootouts between individuals.
Like this one, captured on dash cam in August, one person using another as a human shield. That trend extends across the Greater Toronto Area, with shootings up 40% in Toronto compared to last year, 17% in Peel Region, and 80% in York Region. The most recent data from Statistics Canada shows gun violence has been rising right across the country. And this expert says part of the issue stems from looser gun laws in the U.S.
The U.S. has sort of kind of opened the floodgates, and everybody else is sort of getting their crime guns from them.
The Canada Border Services Agency says smugglers are using more sophisticated methods to move guns, and agents are trying to adapt.
But experts warn that people inside Canada are also getting more desperate. And unless that changes, families are going to continue paying the price. Nicole Williams, CBC News, Toronto.
With each Remembrance Day a year further from the two world wars, the actual memories get cloudier and more abstract. Seeking to counter that is an online catalog compiling stories of young men who became war casualties. The CBC's Ashley Burke reports.
I have the letter that my grandmother received telling her that her husband has been killed.
The story of Matthew Chater's grandfather detailed in these records from the Second World War.
He felt the need to stand up against something that wasn't right in his eyes, and he did so. I'm proud of that.
In 1944, Walter Chater was among the troops who stormed the beaches of Normandy into Nazi gunfire. He became a motorcycle dispatch rider and died at 32 after hitting a landmine.
I think we all wish it never happened.
Now his sacrifice is no longer just family folklore passed between generations. It's among more than 300,000 veteran stories preserved in an app for anyone to see.
We don't want to lose these individuals and their stories and their sacrifice.
Veteran Ryan Mullins is a co-founder of the Memory Anchor app. They've used artificial intelligence to map out more than 100 cemeteries around the world.
We just basically press scan.
Users can scan tombstones.
There's my grandfather there.
And pull up the stories of those who fought and died in war. It's a way to put a face and story to names etched in stone.
This is a person that you can look into their eyes. It humanizes them a bit.
What does that mean to you?
A lot. Retired Major Harry Chadwick's great-uncle was a pilot killed in action in Malta during the Second World War.
No member of my family has ever visited his grave. He's never had family visit.
Now with the app, he can see exactly where William Vernon Ratty was laid to rest.
It's comforting, and I think he'll forgive us for not getting there yet, but we will get there.
For Matthew Chater, it's comforting to know his grandfather's story will live on in a new way. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
In the Middle East, Israel hit Beirut's southern suburbs with airstrikes again today, and the Israeli military announced it's expanded its month-old ground operation in northern Gaza to include an area where it says Hamas militants have regrouped. In Jerusalem, demonstrators gathered at Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's residence last night to protest Tuesday's controversial firing of Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. Gallant spoke to the families of hostages today. Israeli media has reported that he said the army had achieved all its objectives in Gaza and that Netanyahu rejected a hostages for peace deal against the advice of his own security establishment. Gallant and Netanyahu have previously had sharp public disagreements over the conduct of the war and what to do when it ends. Whether it's Star Wars or Harry Potter, they are well-known tunes you know and love. Coming up, we'll introduce you to a local choir that loves the sci-fi almost as much as they love singing. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News. They call themselves geeks, nerds, and lovers of pop culture, and they're uniting together through music. The Incantatum singers are preparing for a special concert this weekend. The local choir performs songs from beloved films, TV shows, and even video games. CBC's Shanna-Lee Vidal has more.
From The Lord of the Rings to Star Wars to Harry Potter, the iconic music of fandom is being celebrated a cappella style. Incantatum is a Winnipeg choir that loves all things geeky, and they're rehearsing for an upcoming show.
We sing songs from movies, books, video games, all across the fantasy and science fiction genre.
For the concert coming up this weekend, what are some of the songs that are going to be featured at the performance?
So we're bringing back a few of our favorites from the past. A couple of those are our Star Wars medley, which has all of the main themes from Star Wars. We're also bringing back our Doctor Who medley. In terms of some newer stuff, we're introducing a Super Mario theme medley.
We prepare for a concert anywhere from 6 to 12 months to get ready. So it's first of all learning it, and then we start working on the nuance and the volume dynamics, other kinds of touches.
I'm a soprano here with Incantatum. Been here for about 2 years, and I was introduced to it through my local LARP community. You can kind of showcase your hobbies, invite your friends and family to come and see you thrive and grow a skill. I think there's a lot of joy in that, and so it's been incredible to be part of this choir here.
We got our start several years ago as a group of friends who went to Comic-Con and walked around as wandering minstrels.
I understand you were at Comic-Con recently.
We had an actual performance set as part of the program where we sang some of the songs that we will be singing in our concert. But then we also went around to some of the guest celebrities and sang some songs for them as well.
For how long have we been coming to this pub?
So for example, we sang our drinking songs medley from The Lord of the Rings for Billy Boyd, who played Pippin Took in the movies.
But you'll never find a beer so brown, but you'll never find a beer so brown as the land.
All of them took videos of us, and that was just really amazing. And it was awesome for us to sing for them as well, because the movies and the books, those are all really dear to our hearts. So being able to sing for people from those fandoms was just, it was a huge deal to us as well.
They all went back to bed.
You can catch Incantatum here at John Black Memorial United Church Friday and Saturday evening. For CBC Manitoba, I'm Shanna-Lee Vidal.
Well, it's been quite a year for Bison's football player Maya Turner. She's making history once again, becoming the first woman to be named a Canada West All-Star. The U of M place kicker made history last year as the first woman to play and score in a regular season U Sports men's football game. This while the Bisons had a stellar season that ended abruptly when they lost to Regina in the first round of the playoffs. Turner says she's humbled and that she's heard from girls and young women who say she's been inspiring them.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been one of my goals, not just to be good at kicking for a girl, but good in the league, good in the conference, you know, and I think this is a step towards that. And also just, just shows that I am able to compete at this level.
The team's head coach, Brian Doby, who you see there, was also given a nod and named Coach of the Year this season. Also earning top honors are quarterback Jackson Tuchinski, who was named Canada West Football Player of the Year, and Giordano Vaccaro as Outstanding Lineman. Operation Red Nose will be back this season, offering safe rides home over the holidays. The program was at risk of shutting down after losing its longtime charity partner. It needed to raise $100,000 in donations by mid-November. Now, a spokesperson says it will be back this holiday season after donors stepped up. Now, they are still looking for more volunteers and drivers. The service will run Fridays and Saturdays and New Year's Eve during the holidays. Riley's back now. Riley, great way to give back over the holiday season, help some people get a safe ride home and make sure that our roads are safe for everybody.
Absolutely.
Those roads have not been too safe early in the morning this week.
Yeah,
it's been pretty treacherous with that ice.
A couple of really icy mornings, Brittany, and I think we've got maybe another couple of those yet to come as we continue this freeze-thaw cycle. Here's a look at the dog walking forecast. We'll start there, and we'll work our way toward your overnight forecast here. So first, I want to show you Drago and Rocky from West St. Paul. Thank you, Rick, for sending your pups in. You can send yours to talkback@cbc.ca. Love seeing them. Dogs, cats, the odd turtle, the rabbits too. Love them all. 1 degree first thing in the morning. Our sunrise 7:30 tomorrow morning. We're looking at mainly sunny skies throughout the day tomorrow, getting up to 8 degrees through the afternoon hours, and then clear skies through the evening once again, dropping to about 5 degrees by supper time, and dropping off from there as we get into the overnight hours. Quickly wanted to touch on Hurricane Rafael, which is still a Category 2 hurricane making its way through the Gulf of Mexico. Right now, the tracks have this heading due west towards that border between Texas and Mexico, of course, lashing Cuba with high winds, heavy rain, leading to power outages yet again on the island of Cuba. Back here at home, tonight we're looking at temperatures dipping closer to seasonal, especially in western Manitoba, looking at lows of -4 overnight for the southwest corner of the province, -3 in the Dauphin region overnight. Even in the Red River Valley, -2 in Winnipeg, should be closer to -7 for an overnight temperature tonight. So still, relatively speaking, staying warm through the overnight hours, and temperatures close to freezing into northwestern Ontario. -6 in Lynn Lake tonight. Clouds building in ahead of that next area of low pressure. So a little bit of clearing through the overnight hours, a little bit of snow yet to come through parts of northeastern Manitoba. So here's that band of snow I was talking about along with that next system moving in as we get through the day on Friday. Very quick moving. So through the morning hours, a few flurries for places like Lynn Lake, chance of flurries into Thompson as that continues to make its way to the east through the afternoon hours. So later afternoon for places like Gillam and Churchill, getting a couple centimeters of snow throughout the day tomorrow. Looking at, for southern Manitoba, another clear, sunny start to the day. Again, a few clouds hanging around, but other than that, we're looking at another bright day throughout southern Manitoba. Winds not as strong as they were today, looking at winds closer to 15, gusting 30 throughout the afternoon. 7 by lunchtime in Brandon, getting up to 11s and 10s through southwestern Manitoba, Brittany, and temperatures still in the single digits as well for the rest of us here in southern Manitoba.
Thank you, Riley.
You're welcome.
The European Climate Service issued a stark warning today, saying 2024 will be the hottest year on record. CBC's Crystal Gamansing has the details from London.
2024 is set to be the warmest on record. The previous record year was just last year, 2023. Global scientists say, based on the data that they are looking at now, the rate of global warming has been increasing 1.62 degrees from the record set at the start of the Industrial Revolution. Now that number, 1.62, is important because it's higher than that benchmark of 1.5 that world leaders and global scientists said was important to keep the rate of warming to. That benchmark has changed over the last little while, that it now had kind of pivoted to under 2 degrees Celsius, but they say that that is still a critical rate. And based on this new information, officials say that the concentration of greenhouse gas emissions could continue this trend.
The atmosphere, unfortunately, react to the concentration of greenhouse gases, not to our pledges or our desire. So concentration have gone up for one reason or another. and the climate system has warmed up as a consequence. So because of that, we see the record. It was bound to happen because of the warming of the climate system.
This new information is going to be talked about at COP29 when world leaders gather in Azerbaijan. Now, what, if any, changes they'll implement, we don't know. One factor that could play a role is the election of Donald Trump. The last time he was in office, he withdrew the United States from the Paris Climate Agreement. If other nations will maybe start to deviate away from that agreement, we don't know. So a lot of attention is being paid to this new and disturbing trend that we're seeing and this record being set for 2024. Crystal Gamansing, CBC News, London.
Riley is back next with a last check on our forecast. We're back right after this. Well, it's good news for Jets fans and pet lovers alike. The 2025 Jets Pets calendar will be up for grabs this Saturday when the Jets face off against the Dallas Stars. The calendar was created by the team members' wives and girlfriends. It features the players posing with their pets as well as adoptable animals from Darcy's Animal Rescue Center. All proceeds will go to the shelter dedicated to rescuing and caring for abandoned and stray cats and dogs.
Very cute. And from hockey to football, let's have a look at that forecast for the West Final happening Saturday, 5:30 in the afternoon kickoff, looking at a temperature of 6 degrees. Sun is setting by then, so we'll be into more like a partly cloudy sky by the time we hit that kickoff. Halftime looking at a 4-degree temperature. Wind's not much of a factor. Southwest at 10, but still, once the sun goes down, it does feel a little bit cooler, so you might want to bundle up a little bit as you're heading out there. 8 tomorrow, 12 for Saturday, 10 for Sunday. A very warm weekend ahead. We do have a chance we could see some showers, maybe a flurry first thing in the morning on Tuesday, and we see temperatures really diving back closer to seasonal for this time of the year. 4s and 3s for next Wednesday and Thursday. Are you a fan of turnips?
I actually really like turnips.
Okay, my dad grows them. Folks in Labrador, I asked this because they have dug up what may be one of the largest turnips in the world. The root vegetable was dug up by a couple cleaning out their garden a few weeks ago.
Did they dig it up or turn it up? The turn up worth bragging about is our daily left, or maybe your supper.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Whoa.
Weighing in at 16.5 kilograms or more than 36 pounds, this monster was hauled out of a Western Labrador community garden. Now, you're probably thinking this has to be a record, but not quite. The Guinness World Record is almost double that.
I had 8 turnips in total put in to the garden, and all my turnips were huge this year. All the rest of them were excellent. Oh my gosh, what a beauty. Oh my goodness.
In case you're wondering, the couple did not use a kitchen knife. They had to use a big blade for that. They did cook it, and they did say that it tasted very delicious.
From that angle, it looks like a massive pear when it's cut open like that. I want to know how long that would take to roast up.
Yeah, that, and what do you do with that much turnip?
Puree it? I don't know.
I guess so.
We'll see you back here tomorrow night. Have a great evening.